Hey everybody. I'm gonna talk today about I have like this news sources that it's just like programs that I see on internet. But there's like these very I trust them a lot because they have been very honest. So they were saying like this round of tariffs that are coming, it's like a stake on the globalism vampire's heart. And I agree. I hadn't seen it like that, but there's been a lot of talk that globalism is falling off. And there's the two currents. There's like nationalism and globalism. So if you don't know, like the US just imposed tariffs in all of the countries of the world. And what this is going to do, it's going to halt that free trade, that what was happening, that was being extremely bad. I think it's great to have free trade, but under just circumstances, and that was not what was going on. One example is Detroit. It was kind of like New York City. I haven't been there, but they say it was beautiful, and the city was just destroyed. It was like I've seen the footage, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is so romantic in a way, but it's just like amusing, like to see how such a great place you take away the working force and it just disappears. And I have like this example. My uncle, he used to sell shoes in Mexico. And Mexico's got a very good leather industry. So all of his shoes were doing Guanajuato, Mexico. And they traveled all around selling these shoes that were very good quality. They were leather. And all of a sudden, there was like this president in Mexico, and he just opened to globalism. And they just couldn't compete. They were receiving the same shoes from other countries for half the price, really low quality. But people just, yeah, you just can't. This system creates a lot of inflation, therefore people just can't afford, even if you want to, unless you're very rich and you want something. But I see it myself. Like I wanted to buy like some leather shoes the other day, and the ones that I liked, they were $350 because people just used to use plastic, like cheap plastic that's gonna break away. And I was like, okay, as much as I want those boots, I don't think it's a good idea to buy them now. And they were pretty, like in Mexico, they were, right now, I just bought like some boots in Mexico and they were $25. But yeah, this is just an example of how, and I went to like the mecca of the leather shoes, but it's just sad, and I think it's unfair. Also, I think this globalism thing has got like this, they're always putting guilt on everyone, like stop using plastic straws because the climate change clock. And they don't give a fuck if you're bringing like the strawberries from Chile, which is like or like your salmon is coming from Alaska. Like, can you imagine the amount of wasted resources on bringing strawberries from Chile while you can grow strawberries very well in Mexico and the US? But it was just like this corporation thing of doing it like by the lower price. A lot of the times, another of these factors was the slave factories. That people don't talk a lot about it, but there's a lot of videos of like slave camps, of like children like making that cheap product, and that created a disparity between countries. Like you can see Detroit, that it went into kind of like no man's land. Like the videos that I saw this video from Royce Cup. It's a Norwegian band, and it was just shocking. Like I couldn't believe to see like these buildings done, but like people that did like, I think the Empire State Building, like amazing Art Deco architecture, falling apart. And I think it was kind of sad. And right now I think we're gonna see a return to nationalism. And what's gonna happen with that? This is my speculation, or what I think is gonna happen. I think between the moment of creating an economy back to where like people were able to produce something on their countries, that transition, it's going to be hard for a lot of people, if not extremely hard. So a lot of people is like, we should just stay like how we are. But if you analyze the way that we are right now, it's just going to destroy the planet. Like going back to the example of like cherries from Chile, like it's just fucking crazy. Like some very small amount of people are making a lot of money from that, but No, you should just if I remember in 2012 I started seeing like videos of how to become reliable and to be free from the system, and it was produce your things. And I think countries are like your family. Like if you have your own chickens, if you have your own fruit trees, your milk, like if you do everything by yourself, which is not hard to do, you become free. And that example, you can place it as a country as well. if you if you promote this healthy buying local thing, it's a great thing. The thing is that we were on the other system, and it's different from everyone. Almost never I'm not like a compulsive shopper. Like I almost don't buy anything like from those big corporations, or I try not to. But I think it's going to create a great benefit at the end. Another example that not a lot of people talk about, but like we're all talking about microplastics and the climate change clock is ticking. But how about in this process we force the big bottled water companies to put it in fucking glass? It was done before, it's much better, it tastes better. You don't fucking pollute the whole ocean. But no, it's just like, yeah, like they they just don't do it. So I remember living when I was living in the forest, like you could just drink as much water as you want. It was coming from the glaciers, and it was amazing. Like when I just started drinking like clean water that doesn't come in fucking water bottles in plastic, my skin turned like amazing. I was like, oh my goodness, this is like what drinking water feels like real water. But now because these corporations control everything, like everything's wrong. They're depleting the grounds, and it's it's a weird thing because from the situation that we're now to there, it looks like a lot of people are gonna have a hard time. And also, it's good to see what are your options to protect yourself. And I think it's different from each one of us. But yeah, I I didn't like the last system at all. Like just like this shit of like having greed controlling everything. It was just like hell. Like for me as a poet, it's very hard because it creates like this bitterness of seeing like they really don't care of people's health, and they really don't care of people's wellness, and it's just like this system that wastes so much talent. And it's a little bit another area of this thing. I think we were in the Alice in Wonderland where everything's flipped, and the criminals were applauded, and the wicked shit was just like applauded, and everyone was giving awards to that kind of shit. And right now, I think it's flipping. And there was like this example in Mexico. There was like this granny that her house was invaded, and she's like 80 years old, and she became viral yesterday because she just goes out of her car with her gun, and she shoots like the whole family that were stealing her house. And it was shocking. Everybody was shocking because like Mexico's like the Wild West. But I was wondering like where was the justice? Like if somebody steals your house, there should be like a justice department where you can go and say like, yeah, there's someone in my house, take them out. But that doesn't exist because they were applauding the criminals. And it was I like in my uncle's shoe company, where was the people protecting him? Who was thinking about his immediate family, the Mexicans? No one. It was just like people was just like hypnotized watching bullshit television. And that's one of my other hopes, that this is gonna finally start reclaiming sanity, like sound mind. Because yeah, it's just so frustrating to see how everything wrong was applauded, and it was just like depravity. And it was just like, and people's really unsad. Like if everybody was like being super degenerate but they were happy, I would be like, okay, like it's got its pros. But I just see that people's like fucking dying alive, like being so depressed, and like nobody likes being alive, so when they're not under drugs. So I think it's gonna be good. Maybe a controversial topic. Tell me what you think, because yeah, the Mexican peso is doing well, with which is like surprising for me. It was like gaining territory. Some of the analysts say that it's going to be good for Mexico because we're very close to the US, so we export a lot of things. So the first time when this happened, that it was, I think, on the first Trump administration, that he retired from Asia, like as a partner, Mexico got really benefited. So there's people saying, but that it's going to be the same case because, but if this really takes place, how it should, like the cars are built in the U.S. and Mexico has its own strong economy, the main exchange would be the products that you just can't produce. For example, coffee, or yeah, like artists. But you know what I mean. Like in Mexico, it was very there was like a lot of plants, but just like one example, they were gonna open a Tesla factory this year, but they decided not to do it. So that can tell you a little bit of what's gonna happen in the future. And there was a lot of people opposed because they pollute a lot, and they really don't want the only people that benefit, it's probably like their employees. But when you have Nestle arriving, they just pollute the water. It's just like, so for me the best thing would be like the government saying like, okay, we have the fucking water, we can build like some crystal bottles and filters so people don't have to pay a fucking worldwide corporation to drink fucking water. And it's like half of Mexico's dying of diabetes, so I think it's gonna be good. So the what's next? Like chopping the head, right? First the steak, and then you chop the head, so it doesn't like fight back. But yes, tell me what you think in the comments.